A stock trader with over 90% win ratio.
Starting with $29,000, amassed a staggering $800,000 in profits.
Verified by Business Insider and NASDAQ, and was leading in an expose of a cannabis scam in the stock market.
So who am I? I'm David Capablanca, the verified millionaire stock trader. If you have seen me on this NASDAQ article, or Business Insider, or this podcast, in this video, you're going to see the reality of what I do as a full-time trader every morning starting at 5 a.m. Welcome to my morning pre-market preparation trading routine. Now let me help my fellow beginner traders or anyone that's unfamiliar with my style of trading, help them understand my pre-market trading routine. Step 1, finding the right stocks that are suitable for me to trade and what that scanning criteria consists of. Step 2, in-depth fundamental and technical research, which includes deep dives into SEC filings, corporate events, and press releases and headlines. That I like to call the due diligence. Finally, step 3, trade planning, which includes creating a watch list and potential entry and exit strategies. A little bit of context of when and why I started to follow this pre-market routine. When I started trading in 2016, I was just like any other trader trying to start in this career. I'm not a genius. I don't have superpowers and try to predict what the market's gonna do. I learned some strategies from some courses, but just kept losing in my trades. At one point, I even thought, like, is this ever gonna work? The key turning point for me was when I stopped following what everyone's talking about on the forum. I didn't have any original trading ideas or watch lists that I built for my strengths or my personality. Desperate to make things work, I reached out to many great traders, and the one thing they kept repeating was trade planning. On my 3rd year of trading, I decided to approach trading the right way, and it changed my life forever. And the right way for me is hard work, dedication, and attention to details. And all of this deals with trade planning. So if you think trading is about opening up some software, clicking some buttons, and straight up banking, I'm sorry, but this is a wake-up call. The reality is trading is a career that requires a lot of hard work and resilience. I like to compare trading to the 100-meter sprint in the Olympics. Usain Bolt, the greatest sprinter of all time, did years of intense trading just to sprint 9 seconds in the Olympics. Likewise, trading is a career where most of the work is done outside of trading. So most of the work is done in the pre-market. That way, when the regular hours start, I'm already prepared and the trades just come to me. So when I see a play, I know when to cut it and I know when to take profit because all the work was done beforehand in my preparation. And I basically repeat this process day to day. Now it's about time to start the day off. Grab your favorite morning drink, cup of coffee, and join me in this pre-market trade planning session. Okay, so the first thing I do every morning is scanning for a list of stocks that may potentially give me the opportunities that I'm looking for. This is my trade idea scanner, which is this flashy software that you are seeing right now. So I'm actually going to break it down to a few must-know data points for you to help you learn the most crucial criteria of how I use the scanner. This way, you can easily try it out for yourself too with any free or beginner-friendly stock scanner that you prefer to use. The first data point that I look for is the trading volume. If the volume of a stock is above its float during the pre-market, it means that there's a lot of demand for the stock and there's a higher probability that there'll be a squeeze at the open. If the volume of a stock is below its float during the pre-market, it means that there's less demand for the stock and there's a less chance that it's going to squeeze at the open. However, if the float is low, it could still squeeze pretty big, and I'll go over that in a second. Based on my personal experience and my style of trading, I generally try to focus on volume between 500,000 and 2 million in the pre-market. And I'll avoid 10 million because it's potentially it's overcrowded. With that said, you can go ahead and put your first filter condition with the tool that you are using. Volume greater than 500,000 and less than 2 million in the pre-market. The second data point that I look for is very important. It's crucial that you guys know this. It's a little bit more advanced, but it's very, very important that you guys know this, and that is the float of a stock. And I'll make it easy for you guys to understand. So the float of a stock is basically the supply of a stock. So everything is about supply and demand. So the lower the supply, the less demand that it'll take to move the stock. If the float is very low, the supply is very low, it won't take much demand to make it move. And if there's a lot of demand, if the float keeps rotating, there's a lot of demand because the volume keeps rotating that float, then it has a potential to squeeze exponentially, and that's what causes a lot of times these outlier squeezes. And because the spreads are wider, there's just a lot of demand. It moves very erratically, and these are very dangerous. You guys need to stay away from them. Okay, so the general guideline that I'm gonna give you guys is that if the stock has a float below 2 million, it's untradeable. It's basically not tradable. If it's below 1 million, it's absolutely under no circumstances is to be traded. This is what we call a nano float. You stay away from nano floats. A golden trading tip for all traders is to avoid trading anything with float below 2 million. Trust me, this will save you from many unnecessary losses in your career. If you know why I'm saying that as a trader, you avoid nano float stocks, comment down below and share your insight with us. Now, the third and fourth data points that I must set up for my scanner are the market cap and institutional ownership. Market cap tells us the size of a company. A simple way to understand this data is to know that when the institutional ownership is high, there would be higher chances of bigger players pumping the stock price and later on dumping it to cause a price drop. Also, institutions have algorithms. Do you want to compete with algorithms? Think about it. This is also something that I will go more in depth later. But for our scanning criteria, I would set a market cap that is below 250 million because I want to focus on a list of small cap stocks to fit my trading strategy. Also, I want to focus on the bad companies that have bad cash flows. They love to dilute their shares, creating a downward pressure on the stock price, more suitable for short selling traders like myself. As for institutional ownership, I want to look for anything below 20% or as low as possible. Based on my trade samples and backtesting statistics, it's best to avoid anything with institutional ownership above 60%. So feel free to copy my scanning criteria for volume, float, institutional ownership, and market cap on your preferred scanner. And if you want a discount code for my Trade Ideas scanner or Trade Ideas in general, there's a discount code below. Now that you have learned the basic scanning criteria, let's go into more in depth of how I trade. I'm a fundamental and statistical trader. I put heavy emphasis on the fundamental research of a stock and look in depth into the statistics. For example, I look at the history of reverse splits of a company. Let's look at MULN, for example. They have a history of changing their ticker, which is usually a bad sign. So MULN used to be NETE. When I was first starting out trading, NETE was involved in a lot of like pump and dumps and stuff and that kind of price action. So, the history of a stock does matter. And MULN has a history, as you see here with these purple marks on Thinkorswim. These are all reverse splits that they've done after diluting their shareholders tremendously. So they're constantly doing these reverse splits where the float is low. As you can see right here, I make notes. Float is 4 million at this point, for example. Then later on, 11.4, 24. So just the float keeps going higher and higher. And then eventually they do a reverse split. It's low again, 1.6 million. And they're able to pump it and dump it and dilute the shareholders concept. So it's just like this cycle of reverse split. Float is low, supply is low. They pump the stock, raise cash, dilute the shareholders, and then do it all over again. Reverse split. It's just a cycle, constant, never-ending cycle. And also the CEO has been involved in a lot of shady activities in the past. And there was one news interview that he did in particular where the news anchor actually asked him about this reverse splits, and he just hung up on the call. He didn't even address it. He just hung up. So this is the kind of stocks that I like to trade. It's very predictable and we understand the whole agenda. My bread and butter strategies are based on the process of researching and investigating the unexplainable moves behind these stock pumps. Every day in the stock market, there are many different tickers that randomly pop. And if you care to look into the news, most of the time there are actually no real news behind it. The headline is either fluff or something recycled from previous news. Okay, so in dilution tracker, you have the industry. I like to look at the industry. For example, biotechs I treat differently than most other stocks. So I want to always be aware. And the floats is very important because dilution tracker keeps the float updated to the latest filings. So this is the most updated float for small caps out there. Anything under 2 million float on dilution tracker, that's what I go by. That is not a trade. Or if it's under 1 million float or nano float, it's an absolutely major red flag to avoid at all costs. And then on top of that, institutional ownership, dilution tracker has the most updated institutional ownership out there. They actually keep it updated to the filings. And I love dilution tracker too because in this chat support, you can actually ask them if it's updated. You can double check if you want. They do usually do a really good job on their own, but you can ask them directly to say, hey, is that updated? And they are very nice people. They will always answer and tell you when it was last updated. And then I like to look at the filings. I like to know a lot of times who owns the stock, or like when the latest dates were of the latest filings. Sometimes other forms of filings come out that are not reported in the headlines, so you want to stay updated with that. So it's very easy to get used to, very well organized. And then I like to also look at, for example, I like the hot link to Yahoo, where it goes directly. I like to check the profile section of Yahoo. see who's in charge here. And of course, I mentioned the CEO of 1Million. This is the guy, and of course, he makes, you know, he's making good money, and he's also diluting shares a lot, so he's making even more money. So anyway, dilution. I like to look at the dilution here. It's very organized. You see the warrants. I like to see where it's pending effect or if it's registered. Like these are registered, but there's no more left. It's 0. They have the notes of like some clauses that are very important to know. Like this is a difficult language to read, so you can like, it points it out, so you can pause and soak it in and analyze it. And of course, yeah, you can keep like all those warrants that they use. This 1Million, they love to use all their warrants. Sounds astronomical to you? Don't worry, I got you. I'm planning to make a series of videos for free covering the fundamental research techniques and trade examples for free. So comment below if you guys are interested in learning these type of concepts. I want to make sure that my videos are going to be useful for you, so please comment below. Now that we've been through the most intensive part of my pre-market process, now comes the fun part, creating a watch list. So I usually write down 2 to 3 stocks that I've selected from previous steps of scanning and fundamental researching. Sometimes this watch list can be done much longer during a hot market, and sometimes I just got to take a step back and accept that nothing fits my criteria to trade. Allow me to give my broker a quick shout out. Cobra Trading is a top trading broker that has competitive commissions and fast order execution speed. Specifically for my trading style as a small cap short seller, Cobra offers a vast list of locates, which means I can easily borrow shares to plan for my short selling ideas. Having shares to borrow is crucial for my success as a short seller, especially for stocks that move quickly on fake news or quick pump and dump agendas from influencers online. Cobra Trading also has great routing options for my limit orders that allow me to get filled at ideal prices and reduce the risk of slippage. If you sign up with the link in the description, you'll have access to Cobra Prime and all of my trading tools, which includes Dilution Tracker, Trade Ideas, and Ask Edgar. So I recommend Cobra Trading if you are looking for a trusted broker for all your day trading needs. Check them out by using the special discount code in the description below. Okay, so this is going to be my watch list. This is an example of how I go about my day every day. So GMPX, for example, is on my watch list. I'm getting 2 examples right here of like stocks on my watch list. So we're going to go over GMPX and KSCP. So with GMPX, the thesis, so I like to have these bullet points here to make things very clear. And the thesis is no news, biotech, negative 2.3 months of cash, which I get from Dilution Tracker. They have dilution from ATM, 2.3 million, and 1.5 million warrants at 4.09. Now that's important to me because right now the stock is trading on the second day squeeze. It's trading, actually, you know, the second day squeeze, it went all the way to 397, which is almost at 409. And there's a high level concept strategies of like understanding how warrant holders execute their warrants or decide to not execute their warrants and maybe even short their own stock. So like that's a high level concept which I go over in other videos. But I like to know where all their dilution is and how much cash they need, because they're gonna have to get, they're behind on their bills almost 3 months. So negative 3 months of cash, they're in a desperate position. However, you know, so like when it's not like a slam dunk short on the pop up on the first day, because for example yesterday it went up 400% and they have negative 2.3 months of cash. So like it was, you know, it's just overly shorted. That's why you got to keep in mind the volume in the morning, and it's like, you know, having your certain indicators up, because you don't want to be part of that squeeze. So when everyone sees the same thing, it's going to be overcrowded on the short side. Anyway, but they do have the end game. We know the end game. They need to use all this dilution to come up with that cash. So anyways, that is a short when it's time. And I like to use, you know, the dilution to guide me, and yeah, understanding all that. Okay, now key levels. So after the day one, which when it had that big run, 400% from 50 cents or so all the way to $2. In the after hours, it went all the way to $2.88. The key levels now are $2. I would say $2 is a support level, and yeah, $2 is a support level. And I'm looking at the chart the yearly chart, which is back in May. It hit 388. There's some resistance there. Yeah, exactly 4.1. So 2, $3, and $4 levels. And yeah, this is what I'm looking at. So key levels, whole dollars, 2, 3, 4 levels, and within that there come smaller levels in the 50-cent ranges, right? So those are also to be watched out for. And actually yesterday in the after hours, it went from not in after hours, in power hour, 3 p.m. Eastern, it went from $2.70 to $4. It had a squeeze. So 3 and 4 are the real tight levels I'm looking at. And the target here is, there's a possibility for a first red day, but this could also be setting up to be a liquidity trap, which is another concept that I've mentioned in videos in the past, and now I'm going to be doing more videos explaining that in the future. But yeah, those key levels, possible liquidity trap. Liquidity trap for more squeeze. Oh yeah, so we can put that in the thesis also. So first red day or liquidity trap squeeze. I mean, it could go either way. So it's like 50-50. It's first red day, or it could go further for a liquidity trap. And yeah, so locates. So for locates, I'm looking for, anything under 8 cents, let's say. Yeah, 8 cents is doable, preferably under 5 cents. Okay, sizing strategy, half size, want to assess the first 30 minutes and then a setup. So so I'm going to be looking for the signals and indicators for a first red day. But also I got to be on guard. It's like it could quickly flip and be a liquidity trap squeeze, because that first day there is a lot of short sellers that got in, and they need liquidity to get out. And if they start all getting out at once or being forced out, it's going to cause a big squeeze. So I gotta reassess that in the first 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And once it's a first red day confirmed, when this is like convincingly first red day in the morning, like it's just red, and it's like everything, there's a lot of selling pressure, level 2 lines up, the candles lined up, the price action, then it's a first red day. I'm going to approach it differently. I'm going to size into that, because the stock is up, let's see, from 25 cents to 394. Yeah, so that's up a lot. And also to consider, this was on a tight halt band situation. So like when a stock trades under 75 cents and opens up over $1, or like trades over $1, it starts to have tight halt bands, and then which causes a lot of erratic price action, and it's highly likely a lot of manipulations involved. So that's why this stock is up so much, on no news. So like that is, so when it's about to end, when the party ends, this thing is it should give a nice first red day. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Okay. And I'll be assessing that in the first 30 minutes. So let me know if my explanation has been helpful to you and easy to follow, because I want to improve for next time. I really appreciate your feedback and support if you've been following this video up to now. Okay, so my second trade idea is KSEP on my watch list. KSEP, okay, so for those that don't know, KSEP is Night Scope. So Night Scope, what they do is they do security robots, and the robots look like R2-D2 from Star Wars. And I've seen them personally here in Los Angeles, in one of the malls in downtown LA. And as we know, downtown LA is kind of like a rowdy place. So to have R2-D2 robots roaming around by the way, it's an outdoor mall. And the outdoor malls in downtown LA is doesn't make any sense, because nobody really respects these robots. Like I've seen them interact with people, no one cares. And they cost an enormous amount of money. I don't know, somewhere in the tens of thousands of dollars for each robot. So it doesn't work. The only thing it works for, I've seen little kids play with it, that's it. So like, how are you gonna have a robot for security and in the police force that no one respects, and it just plays the kids like a toy. So with Nightscope, the major controversy recently was that Mayor Eric Adams in New York is getting investigated. He's getting indicted, I believe. So, and the reason, okay, this ties to Nightscope is because Eric Adams had photos with the Nightscope robots, because he was part of the, introducing Nightscope and making Nightscope robots part of the NYPD. So the New York Police Department has Nightscope robots, and they don't like. I've seen how they work in LA. Los Angeles is kind of similar to New York in that regard. They're both major metropolitan cities, and it's like what comes with that is like it's the similar culture as far as like, respecting the laws in a big city. So Nightscope, it doesn't work. Bad company. Recently, they've done a reverse split, and that's why their price is up. So recently their price is up in the tens of dollars. It's like a $13-14 range, and this thing was trading at under $1, at like under 50 cents, I believe. I don't see it on the charts anymore because that's why it's a reverse split. But this thing was trading at pennies, and they just what they do is the same dilutive agenda. They dilute their stock, all the way down to pennies on the dollar, do a reverse split, raise some cash, do more dilution, dump the dilution, stock goes down under $1, fades all the way probably to 10 cents, and then they do another reverse split, rinse, repeat. And Nightscope sticks out to me because back when it IPO'd, I had I watched a lot of really big traders trade it, and around me when I was in Puerto Rico at the time, and they explained to me what a joke it was, and so that'll always stick with me of like the big traders analysis on this. And there's some old podcasts I did on it covering it and what a joke it is. So, but at the same time, as short sellers, we don't want to just go with a biased thesis of it's a joke and it's all negative and this is trash, etc. Because then you can get squeezed, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Nightscope is on a run for like a week or so, on a big squeeze run. So my thesis is, which I'm going to type here, Eric Adams, mayor of NYC, indicted, and big short sellers got involved and getting squeezed. Because as we know, when too many short sellers short it, the reverse happens, squeeze. Just like in math, negative and a negative equals a positive. With trading, short sellers equals big squeeze. So we want to avoid that, So, and I know I've seen on social media some big short report firms posting, Nightscope, Eric Adams, and I'm sure they shorted big. And when they shorted big and too many people shorted big, the reverse happens. So, so that's exactly what's going on now. So I'm watching the levels right now, let's see. So right now, yesterday it halted up all the way to 20 and then halted down, went all the way down to $10, from 20 to 10. So now the key levels, $10 support levels. $10 support level, $15 resistance level. No cash. Let's put that in the thesis. 0.3 cash position. They're gonna have to do something about that. However, so 10 support, 15 resistance level, and I'm looking for first red day, another first red day. Day potential. So, and then we 15 resistance level, and then we have to also keep in mind that another is a possibility it can go to 20. Just like it did. It hit 20. It hit 20 on the halt up, and then just came straight back down. Looks like one short seller likely just got, forced out of it. These days we have T+1 instead of T+3. So could have been forced out of it and caused a big major halt up, big erratic price action. So you gotta support it. You gotta respect it. Okay, locates for this one. Yeah, anything under 5 cents. I don't think this one's that hard to locate. Preferred. Okay. Sizing strategy, small size, because it's a high price stock. So small size, also you gotta respect that this thing can squeeze. It could have something outlier. It's already broken the resistance from the reverse split at 13. So now there is a possibility this can have something outlier. So like I want to stay small with this. Also, it's a higher price stock, so it's like small amount of shares is that's the way you trade high price stocks. That's the way I trade them anyway. But I'm going for it. I'm looking for the first red day, you know. So this is overextended for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 days. 10 day uptrend. Okay. And yeah, that's my watch list for KSCP and GNPX. So that was the reality of what I do every morning as a full-time day trader. Nothing too fancy, no sports cars, no trading by the swimming pools. It's just me showing up every day, going to work, doing research and putting work in. And that's what we do to get results. I hope that you have enjoyed this special video. Please give me a free like on this video. Hopefully I gave you some valuable insights and some inspirations. All of my trading tools are in the link in the descriptions. Feel free to check them out and use the discounts if they are helpful for you. If you guys want me to get into more advanced strategies and techniques, please leave a comment in the video and let me know what you guys want to see. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.